Thank you very much indeed, Vern. I have to say, so much to talk about. There's such an exciting place to be. Cape Town, we absolutely love it. But the big question, Saunders, John-Eric Verne in Hyderabad, he had the quality of his life, an unbelievable performance in the race. Can he do it again here?
I don't want to say no, because that seems ridiculous in Formula E, but it's not going to be easy. To replicate that, there's a lot of extension factors. You know, the idea that it wasn't necessarily a typical race when it comes to energy management. And Jeb did incredibly well to manage what he had and use all of his experience and prowess to defend very well. But you can't be doing that, you know, week in, week out. That's a lot to ask. And in particular here, this is an even more energy-hungry circuit because of the speed.
Hey.
So, you know, if you're a team that struggles with efficiency during the race, and the DS Penske's are still one of those teams, it's going to be difficult. So, yeah, it's possible, but it's not going to be easy.
So the story so far has been about the two powertrains, Porsche and Jaguar. Will it be rinse and repeat then?
I mean, the interesting thing there, just looking at the driver standings, out of the top 6, 5 of those top 6 are represented by just one of those two powertrains.
Wow.
So well, you got the likes of Porsche and Andretti with the Porsche powertrain, and then Envision and Jaguar with the Jaguar powertrain, making up 5 of those 6. But they've done it in different ways. It's interesting to see, you know, Porsche and Andretti, the top 2 in the standings, Verline and Jake Dennis, they've made all of their gains, their points, their podiums in the race, using that efficiency, that extra power they can you know, keep pushing up the order during the race to get those points and podiums and wins. Whereas it's been a different story for Jaguar. It's all been about one lap pace.
Exactly. So their quality has been absolutely fantastic. But I have to say, in terms of the race that we saw in Hyderabad, actually for Envision and Jag, until the disaster happened, they raced really well.
You know what? You could easily say after what happened with Jaguar in Hyderabad, you could leave that race feeling very down in the dumps, very, you know, losing all confidence and feeling like there's got to be a big redemption. But their one lap pace, their qualifying has been exceptional. And even though they had that bad moment, what you can learn from Envision, the customer team with the Jaguar powertrain, is that not only can they do well in one lap pace and qualifying, they can get podiums. So they're doing what Porsche can't do, which is ticking both boxes at the moment. So I think the gap is going to be narrowed very quickly. Could have a different story after this week.
So the stars almost aligned in India. They could very much do so here. And how big the story would be different if we were to have seen that potentially double podium for either guys?
Absolutely. I mean, the standings could be a different picture completely if Jaguar hadn't had that moment. You could even argue that we could have been on track for a full Jaguar-powered podium after that race.
One quick question. One thing about Cape Town, it definitely affects the afro around here because there's a lot of wind. Will it affect the cars?
Well, you know, here's another point. Just going back quickly to talking about the way the Porsches and the Andrettis have dominated in the race pace, you're susceptible yourself to a lot of risk there. Because, you know, if you don't qualify well, you give yourself a lot more work to do during the race. You have to make your way up the order. And in Formula E, it's a very unpredictable championship. There's a lot of drama, a lot of action. And the further down the grid you are, the more of that you've got to contend with. So, and we saw that with Jake Dennis.
Yes, indeed.
Jake Dennis got himself up into a podium position, but because of all that mess he had to go through, this moment happened with Rene Rast went into the back of him, and that was it. You know, he was the last driver to actually cross the finish line in that race from a podium position. So risk needs to be avoided, and wind here. You know, I think the forecast is 70 kph gust winds for tomorrow race day.
So drama plus wind plus really high speeds on this track, possibly the fastest in Formula E history. What could possibly go wrong?
There's 3 very good reasons to watch this race right there.
Correct. And here's another one, by the way, and that is because the Envision boys yesterday really got to grips with everything that's going on in Cape Town. There's an ocean race taking place that's available throughout the world, one of the hardest team races that take place. These guys are on catamarans in unbelievable conditions. 40 days they go from destination to destination. And obviously when it comes to Formula E, the lads don't just like to look, they like to get involved. And so they thought they'd try it out for themselves. Nick Cassidy and Sebastian Wemme, they got themselves wet, they earned themselves a few bruises, but it's safe to say they loved every single second of it. Well, that's certainly what they said to us afterwards. They had a few smiles, as you can see, a few grimaces. There were a few broken cameras, it has to be said afterwards. And after that, they spoke to Nicky Shields.
Wow. Well, I am very happy to say that back on dry land, we have with us Sebastian Wemme and Nick Cassidy. Guys, that looked like so much fun. How was it, swapping horsepower for wind power?
Yeah, it was actually an amazing experience. I've never been on such a boat, so I did not expect that kind of speed and acceleration. So I really enjoyed it.
Nick, it looked like you had the last laugh there, though. Got a bit wet.
I really enjoyed it as well. I was going to say copy and paste, almost what Seb said. And also what those guys put themselves through. I mean, they're now off on a 35-day journey, which is pretty impressive.
Gosh, okay. Would you swap the racetrack for that one day?
I think Seb and I, we're princesses in comparison, aren't we?
Yeah,
We're-
no,
we're-
we can't make it. 35 days in that boat, in 4 or 5.
crew of 5, yeah.
Well, at least you're honest.
Impressive.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So let's talk about India, because you were really flying high during the course of that race, and then there was what was probably a very unfair penalty that brought you right back down to P15. What happened from your perspective?
Yeah, it's still ongoing, obviously, but yeah.
So you're still discussing it with the FIA.
Yeah, I think we're still trying to fight it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still think we have a strong case, to be honest, because we will ask the right of review. I don't really find it correct, because I was running on less power than the rest, something like 40 kilowatts less for the last 4 laps, and then you get a penalty for overpower. So it was kind of strange. But let's say we are fighting it hard, and hopefully we will get those points back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will keep our fingers crossed that you do, because you've still managed to maintain your position, 4th in the championship. Nick Cassidy as well, you're alongside of him 5th, and congratulations on your first podium of the season.
Thank you. Yeah, it was nice. I mean, to be fair, Seb's been doing an amazing job this year, really strong in all the races. I feel in the races I've been competitive, but I haven't been as good in qualifying. That's a fact. I need to improve. And I was, very lucky with the result in India. Had a very nice bowling ball in front of me. Took a few cars out. So there we go.
Also, the defending that Jean-Eric Verne had to do towards the end of that race, you were so close to taking the win.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the last 5 laps, I think it's talked up because there looks like there's a big energy difference on TV, but actually with how we can drive, we were all basically flat out anyway. So he did a fantastic race. I think before the safety car, we were in a strong position. I had a lot more energy to spend, and then at the end of the race, we were kind of similar, but hey, hats off to Jeff, they did a great job.
Yeah, and now we're here, sunny Cape Town. You clearly have been enjoying yourselves as well. What are the expectations? What's the target for the team this weekend?
Score as many points as we can, obviously. It's going to be a different kind of track. It's really high speed, different to what we are normally used to. Maybe quite bumpy as well, so we'll try to find the best possible setup and score, as many points as we can.
Another podium, Nick?
Fingers crossed. Need another bowling ball.
Can't promise you that one. I don't know. You can help each other
I'm
out.
struggling to be serious. Okay. Yeah.
Well, good luck for the race weekend. We hope to see you. We'll claw back some points and see you back on the podium, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll be honest with you, I'm quite looking forward to seeing the result of the Envision team contesting the FIA. That'll be interesting. Now, they've got a Jag powertrain in their car. Obviously, the Envision team, the Jaguar team, it seems to be those guys versus the Porsches with a little bit of McLaren on top.
Yes, a little bit of an edge that they've got right now. But what you can see is in the results, Pascal Wehrlein's had a fantastic start to the season. So judging based off of that and the other Porsche drivetrain cars, that they've had quite a consistent and smooth season so far. So let's see. We want to see a great competition all season long. So I hope that everyone will catch up. All the guys on the grid want to get up to the front.
Yeah, and let's not forget, this is only the 5th race this weekend,
right.
and we've got lots to uncover with the new Gen 3 car. You've raced on this track, you've driven around this track. What was it like? Because there's a lot of chat about it being fast.
It was fantastic. This was just a little bit earlier on, and I've never driven an electric vehicle racing car, so this, for me, was a very new experience.
What was the first thing that you noticed that was different to combustion?
Well, obviously the acceleration was just insane. The power is just there as you put your foot down. It's there. There's none of this feeding the throttle and sort of a lag. It was just incredible amount of power that comes down as soon as you hit that throttle. But the track is quite spectacular. Like you say, it's very fast. Lots of straights, lots of kinks that are corners, but really you can take them with quite a lot of speed. But it's also quite bumpy, and there's a lot of signpostage on track and quite a lot of, I don't want to call them distractions, but there's a lot for the driver to take in. So I think it's going to be a really interesting challenge for them out there, but a fantastic track, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
It's great getting your perspective, because that was the first time you've driven an electric racing car.
Exactly.
And because you're used to combustion, it's amazing hearing you say the acceleration is outrageous.
It is. And I was not even driving with full power. They only took me down to 250.
So how do you feed that in? What's the difference?
In a racing car, a typical combustion engine racing car, you usually would get on the throttle and sort of build that throttle input, whereas here you put your foot down and you almost can't, how would I put it? You almost can't build that power. You put it down and it's there. So You've got to kind of point the car and get on the throttle. So not a lot of steering angle when you're accelerating because that power just comes so quickly. So you want to turn, open up the steering wheel and then get on the throttle so that you don't have any oversteer because it just comes down as you put your foot down.
Then you've got the mathematics of the energy consumption, you've got a regen, you've got all that going on as well. It's a complicated task.
100%. I mean, I thought it would be more simple because it's only one gear. There's not that much going on in the cockpit, but actually there's so much to think about and so much that for someone like me who's never driven an electric vehicle racing car, it's a big challenge. I mean, it's very interesting, a lot going on.
All right, let's get a more in-depth look of the track with Jack and Nelson.
Yeah, cheers, Vernon. This was the shakedown session earlier on today. So they were running at lower speeds, but we're going to have a look with Stoffel van Dorn and, more importantly, Nelson Piquet Jr. of the circuit. So we are going to start at the start of the lap, and then you have a few kinks into this very tight first corner, Nelson.
Yeah, we have the first overtaking, I think, in my opinion, opportunity over here. One of the slowest corners, and comes to another big straight over here. We're going to have a bumpy section over here. It's going to be really quick when they're in the qualifying mode. There's a bit of some high-speed bumps over here, but it's still one of the quickest corners we have in the whole calendar and the whole 9 seasons of Formula E. Now you have that little chicane, the little right and left-hander over here, which is probably the slowest part of the track. And if I don't mistaken, now we have the left-hander, and then we come to a big straight over here. I think they're going to be flat out over here for, I would say, a good 20 seconds, perhaps.
And when we did the track walk earlier, we went through 2 and 3, and we're like, oh, these are quick corners.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you return in 7, 8, and these are some more quick corners.
It kept getting quicker and quicker, and I thought there was going to be a corner here. It's just a little kink, and you're going to see there's even more. This one is going to be not flat out, obviously, but it's still very quick. This is the next opportunity of overtaking. It's the last one of the last corners over here, and then we're coming to it's going to be a left and a right-hander where you're going to have our attack mode over here. So a high-speed corner over here, which is a little bit different from usual. Instead of being a low-speed attack mode, it's going to be high speed on the outside over here. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to behave in the race. You know, maybe they're not going to lose as much time as Hyderberg, for example, which was really on the outside, and you saw the situation with Mitch where he lost 2-3 positions when he, and it kind of compromised his race. So it's going to be a bit different over here. It's right on the outside, and that was the lap. So not a lot of slow speed corners and a lot of straights. So really exciting. It's going to be qualifying. It's going to be amazing to watch qualifying to see which driver is going to have the biggest guts to take all these risks and all these high-speed corners.
Yeah, it's a really cool circuit, really fast, and I think that all of the drivers said on their way here, we've driven it on the simulator, and this is intense. And then they've got it here today. I was with Jake Dennis on the track walk, and he said this is gnarly, which I thought was a nice way to describe it.
And the good thing is that you have a bit of the bumps. It's not a completely flat track. You have a bit of the bumps to make it give even a bit more character and make it even a bit harder. So it's going to be amazing to see these drivers going around this track.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, well, we have some great drivers here in all sorts of disciplines, but we have a legend with us, a rally legend, and Darren Adetossier is with him.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, not just any legend, an 8 times World Rally Champion, Sébastien Ogier. It's amazing to have you back at Formula E. How are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, a lot, to be honest. It's just amazing to have a race happening in such a location. And I have to say, if I'm honest, the main reason I'm here is more for the location than for the Formula E. But yeah, I enjoy joining my wife on such a cool place, and Formula E it's something I follow more recently. Last year I had the chance to have a small test into it, so I like this action racing which is happening on track, so yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, you really pushed the car to the limits when you raced it in New York, but obviously we've got a new car this season, Gen 3. What do you make of it?
Yeah, they look pretty cool. Faster car, it make always driver happy, I would say. So I think it's nice. The competition is as always very close and intense. I think at the moment Porsche have done an amazing start, but I'm looking forward to see what happened this weekend here because the track looks extremely fast.
Very quick.
I heard that you need to have some big balls, like we say, as a driver. So nice, will be interesting to watch, and yeah, perfect weather. All the ingredients are here to have fun.
Amazing. And of course, we're outside of the DS garage. We've got Jean-Luc Van just getting ready for free practice right now. But who are you rooting for this weekend?
Oh well, you shouldn't ask me that. I know more or less all of them here, so it's hard to say to root for anybody. Jean-Eric, obviously, I know very well, but many other drivers from the DTM. I think, like I say, Porsche have been strong, so I think if you need to bet on someone, it's maybe Pascal again this weekend, but maybe because of this fast track, we can have some surprises, and yeah, I will be excited to watch.
Amazing. Well, I hope you enjoy the race. Thank you very much. And Vernon, what are your predictions?
Well, thank you, Darren. Yeah, my prediction is this. Sam Bird is going to want redemption.
I agree.
He made a huge mistake last time out in India. He apologised to Mitch, his teammate. He apologised to the other drivers involved in the crash. And we saw the frustration from James Barclay's team principal. So Sam, I know him very, very well. He's a personal friend. I think he's going to want to make a difference in this race. And we've talked about the speed, and they've got that.
Yeah.
But have they got the race pace to match the efficiency? Because that's what Formula E is all about. However, the flip side of that coin, I'm going to go for my mate Rennie Rast in the McLaren, because he's got a statement to make. You know, they're great at qualifying overall as a team, but can Rennie make a statement this race? What about you?
I mean, I would say after having driven the track that it's very fast, but it's also very tricky. So I think in this track, we might see that it comes down more to the driver than the car itself, I'd like to say. So maybe that opens it up a little bit for someone else to be in the mix at the front. So I'm going to keep putting my money on Kelvin van der Linde because it's his home race.
Yes, I like that.
Is that wise? I'm not sure. Wise decision, probably put my money on Pascal Wehrlein.
Well, I'm going to go again.
I'm going to go again.
I'm going again.
Okay, go again.
I'm going to throw in Dan Ticktum.
Okay.
All right, because we like Dan, because he's a little bit bonkers. He's a very, very aggressive driver, you know, and they've got a statement to make in that Neo 333 car. And also, you can predict as well. Get on the predictor. If you've got a cell phone in your hand and it uses the QR code, then point it at the screen right now. Get involved with the FE predictor, and you, like Naomi and myself, can all predict the outcome of the race. Right, we're almost ready for FP1. This is it. The first time we're going to see the drivers out in anger in Cape Town.
Exactly.
The beautiful city of Cape Town, the first ever Formula E race in South Africa, and it is a wonderful, wonderful venue for the fifth round of the championship. And you can see some of the sights and the personalities that we have around here, the great view of Table Mountain down at the V&A docks, and here's a look at the Green Point area for round 5 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, the Cape Town E-Prix of 2023. Very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on what is a very, very pleasant afternoon here in Cape Town. And as I say, the 5th round of the championship. And after this, we've got a little bit of a break coming up. After a really intense period of 5 races in pretty much 6 weeks, we then have a month off before the next race in Sao Paulo. We began in January with Jake Dennis taking the victory in Mexico City, and then a doubleheader in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia. Pascal Wehrlein taking both wins there and moving to the top of the championship. And then in Hyderabad 2 weeks ago, Jean-Eric Vergne was the driver who came through victorious. His first win for the DS Penske team, and he moved himself up to 3rd in the championship standings after that victory. And then we finished the season in the end of July in London. But Pascal Wehrlein is the championship leader coming into this race. 4th in Hyderabad last time out was his worst result of the season. Meanwhile, reigning champion Stoffel Vandoorne had his best result of the season in Hyderabad with an 8th place finish. Sebastian Buemi was 3rd on the podium, but was given a post-race penalty. Jake Dennis is 2nd in the standings, and was unfortunate not to be in contention for the victory. And there is a look as the sun not exactly begins to set, but gets a little lower in the sky out towards the west, and this Green Point area around the stadium built for the World Cup in 2010. Pascal Wehrlein leads the championship, 18 points clear of Jake Dennis, and then it is Jean-Eric Vergne, Sebastian Buemi tied on 31 points in 3rd and 4th. Nick Cassidy's there in 5th place. Then it's Sam Bird, Jake Hughes, René Rast, Antonio Felix da Costa and Lucas de Grassi, the rest of the top 10. Andre Lotterer down in 11th place. Only 14 points for Mitch Evans, despite leading 2 E-Prix. And reigning champion Stoffel Vandoorne 16th in the standings right now. The 2 Abt Cupra drivers are the only drivers yet to get off the mark this season. Well, the only team yet to get off the mark is Abt Cupra, and Maserati have 3 points from Eduardo Mortara. Nissan and Neo tied. It's been a long time since Neo have been that high up in the championship standings. Tag Heuer Porsche, though, are at the top on 101 with Avalanche Andretti in second position. So this Cape Town circuit really, really entertaining under the imposing view of Table Mountain. We are about a, 20-minute drive through the city down here to Green Point, and it's around this stadium that the track winds. The start line leading directly into a 90-degree left-hander at turn 1, and then the first of the fast corners, turns 2 and 3, down into the chicane at turns 4, 5 and 6, and then out through the left-hander at turn 7, out onto Beach Road, which then heads towards another quick 2 corners of turns 8 and 9. Mooley Point is up here at turn 10, another good overtaking opportunity. Attack mode activation is on the outside of the final corner at turn 12, and that is the 2.921 kilometre Cape Town E-Prix circuit. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is the Season 1 Formula E champion Nelson Piquet Jr. Air temperature 25 degrees, glorious day here. Track temperature 36 degrees. And we are about to see cars on track in anger for the first time as the light goes green at the end of the pit lane, and out they head. The 2 McLarens heading out first of all due to their place at the end of the pit lane, but this is a big, big session, Nelson, isn't it? It always is intense in Formula E of how little track time you have. Did you ever get used to it? And also, welcome to Cape Town. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you come to a new track time is very important, and now they're having a session on Friday and then another session Saturday. You know, back when I was driving, it was all in one day, literally. I mean, it was Saturday morning, first practice, then second practice, qualifying. Everything was compact in one day, which was very stressful and not easy at all. I think, yeah, depending on the track, some tracks are easier to grasp than others. This track, it seems like it's very flowing and easy, but the quicker the track is, you know, the higher speed you have, the tougher, the harder it is to really find the limits of the track. This is from the track walk we had this morning. For me, from all 9 seasons of Formula E, I think it's going to be the quickest average speed track that we've seen. So qualifying is going to be really tough. I think tough for the drivers. I mean, it's going to be very challenging to see who's going to have the biggest guts to really, you know, take all the risks that needed in these high-speed Kings corners that there's going to be around here.
So this is the first of the high-speed corners at turns 2 and 3 that René Rast is coming through now in his Neon McLaren. Was running well in Hyderabad before hitting the back of Jake Dennis. Now he is coming down into the chicane here at 4, 5 and 6. Jake Hughes following him through that, well, around the palm trees and then back out again towards the left-hander of turn 7, which takes them out onto Beach Road. The 2 Maseratis following, and now we have this another quick sequence through the left-handers of turn 8 and 9 as they approach that corner now. Jake Hughes, and it looks as though he might just be backing off to get a bit of a gap, because look, he's been caught now by the 2 Maseratis who are running together very, very early on in this session, and we're seeing more and more how important, and it has been for a few years in Formula E, but the slipstreaming is really coming into effect this season a lot with these Gen 3 cars.
It seems like the Gen 3 cars has more drag. So we've seen last race in India, Vern in the front really consuming much more energy than the Univision car was Nick Cassidy behind him. I don't think it was.
This is race control. Full course yellow in 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow. Full course yellow.
Just a practice full course yellow from Scott Elkins down there in the bottom right. Do carry on.
So yeah, I don't think it was all down to the powertrain, the difference of efficiency. I think there was a lot to do with the drag. So Nick Cassidy being able to coast a bit more, save a bit more energy behind Jeb. So, and I think this track, because you're in a high speed for much more time, you're going to have that effect much more over here. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if the leader of the race, he's going to, in purpose, back off, come behind someone, what's going to happen, because teams have been learning, obviously, because it's the first season for this Gen 3 car. They've been learning that the drag effect makes a big difference over here. So obviously everybody wants to start in the front row. The first 2 rows are important, but it seems like if you're leading since the beginning, you're going to have a higher consumption of energy. So this is going to come into play, and this track definitely is going to make a big difference because of all the high-speed corners and straights it has.
It's quite a big gap behind Miller. Now being two if you want to prep for next lap.
So this is Jean-Eric Verne team radio as he makes his way towards the final part of the circuit and out across the line. There goes Mitch Evans and Sam Bird, the 2 Jaguars that collided in a bit deep into the first corner there for Sam Bird, but they collided in Hyderabad. Did you have, do you have any teammate collisions?
No, I have, not that I remember.
Well done. I asked Dario that once. He said, "Oh, too many."
Really?
Yeah, apparently him and was it Will Power?
Well, but also I think at some point Penske had like 4 cars as well. You know?
Well, that's
so
true, yeah.
you have a bit of a higher chance of that happening when you have a lot of cars in the grid, some of the same team.
So less than 25 minutes to go, and that's what happened with Evans and Bird. Bird following through here, but he is sort of back on form, as it were, a little, Sam Bird. There we go, stop the clock now. Kelvin van der Linde, P1. I think they would take that, the app team, on a 13.978, but obviously the lap times are just going to drop and drop. Evans is already 1.3 seconds quicker than that currently, and they are now, and there's a red flag. Turn 9, which is the quick left-hander, out on the back of the circuit. It says there's a yellow flag, and now a red. And
team managers, race control, just a heads up, we've got a car to the right, driver's right, in between turns 9 and 10. There is a tire that is also on driver's left, so there's a significant debris field there, so just be aware. It's in between 9 and 10, so the car's on the driver's right-hand side.
So Sebastian Buemi, coming out down towards Moulay Point, has had a big accident there. You can see the front damage, the front right, the rear right is damaged too. I'm trying to see where, obviously we'll see, but he's quite a long way out of the corner. You know what I mean? Like he's quite a long way out of the corner, but there you can see the damage on the car and the debris.
That's not going to be good for the weekend, because this track time over here is going to be crucial. It's a new track for everybody, and it's a difficult track because of all these high-speed corners. So it's not going to be good for his weekend. He's going to have to play catch-up tomorrow morning.
So look, the debris is, okay, so he must have just rolled quite a long way or something, Buemi. So the debris starts quite early. There's van der Linde making his way back into the pit lane. Of course, the clock will keep ticking, so everybody will be losing time in this session because of this early crash for Sebastian Buemi. We've got less than 23 minutes to go, and Buemi, let's see what happens with Sebastian Buemi here. Oh!
Yeah.
Okay, team managers, just be aware. The car's on driver's right. Medical is now in attendance, so the medical car is also there.
Very badly, very sorry.
Okay. What's the damage, Seb?
Bad on the right side. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's a quick track.
Yeah.
A lot of, we're gonna see a bit more of this for sure until the race, because it is a tricky track. Car's not easy to drive. Shame for him, but sometimes you take a risk, and it happens.
Yeah, tough so early on in the session. Buemi had 3 laps on the board, so his 4th lap of the weekend, and you see from his body language the disappointment as he looks at the car, and I think it'll be a bit of a late one tonight for the Envision team. And as I say, finished 3rd on the road in Hyderabad before being given a penalty for power overuse, which, well, it's a complicated story actually, and I think that Envision are still potentially going to appeal that decision as well. They're still sort of quite of the belief that it was an unfair penalty. So I think that story is going to run a little, but there's more immediate work to do for Sylvain Philippe in the left and Mike Lugg, the chief technical man at Envision. I know chief technical man isn't his official job title, but I always forget it. And then the Envision PR always texts me saying, this is his job title. So, sorry, I've got it wrong again. But yeah, Buemi in the barriers, and hopefully we'll get the track cleared fairly swiftly and be getting back underway. Here's a look at it again then in slow motion, and so do we think he's wide on the way in maybe, or because he's...
No, I think he had a late turn in and just got the dirt, and so high speed that there's nothing he can do. It's so quick that yeah, those do hurt, not physically, they hurt mentally, especially when it's the beginning of the session. You get really gutted when that happens.
And this was the full speed version. Sebastian Buemi out of the session. So Hughes and Rast, first and second at the moment, and a 1:13.2 is the lap time for Jake Hughes up at the front as the crane comes to clear the Envision car away, and the marshals have already got going with some of the debris, so it's just the car itself, I think, that will need to move, and then we should be able to crack on again. There's Max Gunther in the pits, a few tyre changes going on here and there, even though only a few laps are completed. Gunther was unlucky in Hyderabad, was having a good race until he got involved in the Jaguar collision, got sort of caught up in it and had to take evasive action, Max Gunther. So as a result, he's the only driver, apart from the two Apps drivers, who doesn't have any points so far this year. Didn't start the first race in Diriyah after an accident, then finished 19th in the second and ended up 13th in Hyderabad. And Maserati were a team who looked very strong after pre-season testing in Valencia. Andre Lotterer, currently 11th in the championship, the only Porsche-powered car not to be in the top 10 of the standings. Looked like some quite serious work they were doing at the back. Some big old springs or something being passed around. But yeah, it's obviously frustrating for Buemi to lose out on this running time, but it's costing everyone else as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but it's much worse for Buemi. You know, everybody's gonna miss a bit of time, but I mean, compared to what Buemi's gonna miss, can't wait for them to see them back on track.
Yeah,
such a cool track to see them going around so quick.
Sergio City camera. Sam Bird making his way around in the early stages of that session in the Jaguar TCS. Mitch Evans was on a quick lap actually. He'd done the fastest first two sectors of anyone before the red flag came out. At the moment the field spread is pretty huge actually. Is that... So has Dennis got a new lid for this weekend? Just spotted that one. Looks like it's a South African flag-inspired helmet for Jake Dennis. Stoffel Van Dorn, they're coming through. And that is Nick Cassidy in the Envision. Pascal Wehrlein getting ready to go. 17 minutes on the clock as it continues to tick down. And so far, a better FP1 for Wehrlein than it was in Hyderabad, because he isn't in the wall yet, as he was in the first lap in Hyderabad. And he's got a very, very big championship lead, Pascal Wehrlein, but I guess you've got to keep focused and keep doing sort of what you have been doing the whole season so far. Is it your first time in Cape Town, Nelson?
Yeah, I've been to Durban, raced there once or twice, A1GP, back when the TVs were black and white still. And then I did a F1 roadshow in Johannesburg. Yeah, so I came here 2-3 times already. So I have never been to Cape Town. Beautiful place. Really, I was really impressed. Haven't seen much. I got in this morning, to be honest, and went to the hotel. But from what I saw, very clean, very nice. I mean, the landscape over here, beautiful place. The area of the race is really nice around here. So no, so now I'm really impressed with everything. It's beautiful. I mean, I hadn't seen these images.
Yeah, really cool. I can't think of a better. Well, there's lots of different race locations we go to around the world, but
yeah, these ones were the special ones.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You can see Table Mountain in the background, and it really is spectacular.
Imagine hiking over here.
Yeah,
so beautiful.
I hiked up Table Mountain the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, walked up it.
Hey, team
yeah,
managers,
Oliver Turvey told me
just
he's staying a couple of more days
we're having a look at the wall here real
hike
quick
up there
to ensure that we're in good shape here, and then we'll get back going again. Have not worked through whether we're going to extend the session or not, but I'm going to do that now too. We'll get back to you.
So that's Kelvin van der Linde in his home race, the South African from Johannesburg, but has been very, very busy, appearing on all the TV and radio stations over the course of the week so far, and he really enjoys it. Really enjoys doing the PR stuff, which is the app team love him for that. As we look down again on the, well, you can see Robin Island out in the middle there, and we are just sort of over Table Mountain at the moment. This is sort of Lion's Head sort of area, and it's quite blustery today out on around the Cape. Not too far, of course, from the Cape of Good Hope, about an hour's drive south, probably maybe 2 hours drive south of here. As Jake Hughes gets ready to head out, so we heard Scott Elkins there just saying they're going to inspect the wall.
This is race control. Okay. This is race control. This is a short call. We're going to be going here in a couple of minutes. Just stand by.
So it's going to be a short call to go again, but the session will be extended to 17:40 local time. So that's a 10-minute extension of the session, which will give them all actually about the same amount of running, because I think it was, well, there we go. It was about 23 minutes in that we had the red flag for Sebastian Buemi. So a little 10-minute extension for the 10-minute delay, and Dan Tickton will be heading back out onto the circuit in a moment. Antonio Felix da Costa getting ready to go in the Porsche. Third in Hyderabad, his first podium for Porsche in his 100th race in Formula E. And session will restart in 1 minute's time. So 1 minute, and the cars will be back out on circuit. As I think I mentioned this a little earlier on, huge field spread at the moment. Hughes quickest, 2 tenths ahead of Ras, 7 tenths ahead of Mortara and van der Linde. But Van Dorn there in 10th is 2.5 seconds away. Evans in 12th is 7 seconds away. So a lot of these drivers haven't really had a proper run at this circuit yet, as they just tried to sort of get themselves a bit of a gap in the early stages. Stoffel Van Dorn, 10th at the moment in the DS Penske. Starts to just roll forward a little bit. You're not allowed to leave the pit lane, the garage in Formula E, until the light goes green. So that's why we don't see, you'll see in Formula 1 and stuff, drivers queued up at the end of the pit lane, but you're not allowed to leave the garage in Formula E until the light goes green. He's having a choppy time out there, wasn't he?
It wasn't windy when we were walking around, was it?
No, it's really picked up.
Like it picked up afterwards. I wouldn't mind being on a boat over there.
No, it would be all right. I'd be lonely in here, though, so. Right, the session goes green. We get going again. And in a minute, the two McLarens will emerge from the pit lane and get going once more. So that's why you end up with this 2x2 in the practice sessions, because you're not allowed to leave the pit lane before, leave the garage before the light goes green at the end of the pits. 21.5 minutes to go. Now we've got green flag running again. Rast ahead of Hughes. And then Gunter. Mortara, Evans. Cassidy in the Envision, the only remaining Envision. And so we'll keep an eye on the Kiwi, who, as we say, he had a strong result. Was speaking actually on the FE show, which you can catch up with, by the way, a little earlier on, and Cassidy and Buemi were chatting, and Cassidy saying actually it wasn't quite as, he didn't have quite as much more energy as it looked compared to Vern. Right. Here we go with Nick Cassidy through the final right-hander, out over the timing line, and this is a lap of this brand new Cape Town circuit on the run down towards turn 1, this 90-degree left-hander, and he's fighting it already, Nelson Piquet.
Oh, such a high braking zone place, and the cars need to be, whoever has the best package over there in terms of software and mechanical grip over there is going to have a big advantage in turn 1 because you're braking and turning at the same time.
Into the chicane now for Cassidy. Turns 4, 5, and then 6, and now towards the 90-degree left-hander at turn 7. Again, only a little burst on the power there, really, isn't there, before he then gets onto the brakes, and now into the quick corners at turns 8 and 9. We've already seen Sebastian Buemi crash very early on in the session. Oh, and that's why, because it is
so
quick.
Wow.
Now down to turn 10 at Mooley Point. You can hear him scrabbling to try and get the car stopped. 2 more corners to go. The left-hander of turn 11. Again, a lift, a turn left, and then the right-hander of turn 12. Attack mode on the outside and across the line for a fast, intense lap of this brand new Cape Town circuit.
P2.
Half a second slower than Jake Hughes. 19 minutes and 6 seconds remaining. Lotter are now jumping up into 4th position. Fenestraz up into 3rd spot. Nato up into 5th. The lap times are just going to tumble and tumble. And Tictum now goes up into 2nd place. Here is the Porsche of Antonio Felix da Costa. Jake Dennis has returned to the pit lane. And I'm just trying to work out what is going on with Lucas de Grassi, because he's not registered on the timing screens for a long time. You can see it says he's out on the tower on the left-hand side. And I haven't seen him come through any sectors, de Grassi. So, bit of a mystery to what's happened to the Mahindra man. I'll keep an eye out for him and see whether he starts crossing any timing beams or whatever, but MIA at the moment. The 2 Porsches out here then, Verline and da Costa. And it was good to see da Costa back on the podium, because he'd been very much sort of outshone or whatever by Verline in the first 3 races, but he proved he's, you know.
Yeah, it was just a question of time. Beginning of the season, you know, you have a bit of things happened, you know. For sure he's going to show speed and results. There's no doubt about it. He's, in my opinion, top 3, top 5 drivers formally at the moment.
17.5 minutes to go. This is Dan Tictum in the Neo, coming into turn 1 now. He has, what has he just done? He's just done a cool-down lap. So this will be a push lap here from Tictum. Into turns 2 and 3. Was really looking forward to getting stuck into this circuit. Really likes street circuits, does Dan Tictum. Loves that feeling of sort of always being on the edge. As he comes up into turn 7 now. Less than 17 minutes to go.
P4 plus 6/10.
So that was getting some updates as he comes into Mooley Point. He's always right on it, isn't he? Dan Tictum.
It is nice to watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Through the final right-hander. And out across the line, and Tixon goes 6th fastest, 3/10 slower than Max Gunter, who's now at the top of the times. Bird and Evans are in 2nd and 3rd. Already we've got less than a 10th separating the top 3.
Kelvin is doing a good job.
Yeah, Van der Linde there in 8th position. Jake Dennis still in the pits. So that's an interesting one. Bouncing over the bumps at turns 2 and 3. And Stoffel Van Dorn coming through the left-hander now. He's backed off at the moment. Evans did the fastest first sector of anyone, but lost a bit of time in the middle sector. Edo Mortara now jumps to the top. So it's a DS powertrain 1, 2, 3 at the moment. The Maserati powertrain, a sort of sister powertrain, as it were, of the DS powertrain. It sort of shares the same origins, but then they're kind of developing it in their own way. Da Costa now up in a 6th place. Van Dorn in 2nd, 4/10 away from Eduardo Mortara. This is Jean-Eric Verne, race winner last time out, and he's a 1/4 second down after sector 2. Comes through the left-hander of Moulay Point and then back down towards the final 2 corners. Across the line. And Jean-Eric Verne goes up into 8th place. 6/10 second away.
I would suggest to keep pushing to refine the sync with all the guys.
Mitch is coming in a very quick lap at the moment.
So keep pushing, they tell Verne, to find the sync. So, because he's just done his hot lap a lap after everybody else did. So they're saying we want to get back on the same or similar run plan to those around us. Yellow flag at turn 7, which is going to be the next corner here for, well, someone's locked up, haven't they? Going to have to be Poirot to work that one out, because there's a lot of tyre smoke down there at turn 7. And, oh, slow Van der Linde. It's a slow Van der Linde. That's a shame. He's running 13th and did a personal best in the first sector. It's now a Jaguar 1-2, by the way.
Managers, this race control. We got a car stop, drivers left at the exit of turn 7. Car stop, drivers left, exit of turn 7.
And that is Van der Linde, and the team worked so hard on Wednesday when they arrived and unpacked the car. They changed a load of parts in the back of that app because Van der Linde was plagued with issues throughout the race weekend in Hyderabad. And that looks as though he might have had another reliability problem. It felt like every time he got on track in Hyderabad, he broke down.
That's a shame. Hopefully they can fix it before.
There's no drive because it broke the rim.
Oh, he must have touched the wall, I think.
Yeah. That would be a shame. If it looks as though that's going to be the end of his session. And he's not too far away. We can see the marshals there on the right-hand side, and he's not too far away from an exit point, so hopefully this won't be too much of a delay. As I say, it's a Jaguar 1-2 now. Mitch Evans 3/10 ahead of Sam Bird, who's just ahead of Mortara, Gunter, Fenestraz, the top 5. Cassidy, Van Dorn, Da Costa, Vernon, Nato, the top 10 at the moment. Dennis still in the pit lane, having only done 4 laps. And again, Lucas de Grassi missing.
Yeah, something's
at the moment. Still, beautiful day here in Cape Town as the cars turn through this left-hander at Moulay Point and then head towards Table Mountain there, over at the back. I don't need to point it out, do I? You can't miss it, but there it is. Really stunning, imposing part of the scenery here in Cape Town. So another red flag, and I would imagine the session won't now get extended anymore. We'll wait and see what Scott Elkins decides or is able to do with regards to session extensions. There's the pit lane just next to this DHL stadium, which was built for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. And you've got an athletics stadium in there. This is kind of the sports part of the city in Cape Town, down here on Green Point.
How many years was it ago?
2010.
It's nice that they maintain it still
Yeah.
all intact. In Brazil, I mean, I don't know what's left of it, but it's all abandoned and...
What, really? From 2016?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, no, not 16, was it? It was...
Oh, it's even later on, I
18,
think.
maybe.
Yeah.
Because it was after the Olympics.
Yeah, it was only 2 years after.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's amazing that they maintain it beautiful and probably still using it a lot. In Brazil, they just built it quickly and abandoned it, so it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, still play rugby there, I believe, in particular. And a few of the drivers. Sasha Fenestraz says if he wasn't a racing driver, he'd be a rugby player.
Really?
Apparently he was very good on the wing, as a winger. 10 minutes to go. Evans quickest, Bird second. Now, we've got to the bottom of the Degrassi mystery. There he is. Well, there's his car. Anyway, parked up at the side of the circuit. He's at the chicane. This is what happened earlier on.
I stopped into the chicane. I had a suspension rear end failure. And the car was bouncing to the ground. I had no dust, no brakes. But I managed to save it. The car is in one piece. I just stopped into the chicane.
Okay, so a suspension failure, says Degrassi, and then parked up at the chicane. So that's why he's out of the running. So a lot of... I can't think of the word that I was going to use, but a lot of issues for quite a few drivers. Buemi, Degrassi, Van der Linde, all having trouble. Attrition, that's what quite a high attrition rate in this first practice session.
It is bumpy and it's high speed, so you know it is going to be tougher on the cars compared to many of the tracks.
Nico Miller in the other apt car getting ready to head out. There is the apt crew, the boss on the right hand side, Thomas Biermeier. Difficult time for them. The first time they ran the cars was at pre-season testing in Valencia. Here's Jake Dennis. They did have an issue with the car, so that's why he hasn't done many laps, but they have now fixed it, and he's ready to head out, and that's his South Africa helmet.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's very cool. He had a special helmet for London last year, I think. He's not I don't think he's a regular special helmet man. Were you always doing special helmets, or were you in F1 when you weren't allowed, or?
No, I did a bit, not too much. Formula E, I had one season, which I had one for every race.
Really?
But it was such a headache with all the radio kit you had to change, and then helmets flying left and right to the painter. As I just gave up, it was too complicated. So.
Was it the same year you did the T-shirts?
Yeah, it was the same year I did the T-shirts.
I've still got all my Nelson Piquet Jr. T-shirts.
No, I still use the same designer. He's really good.
Yeah, it's so cool. 7.5 minutes to go. And yeah, FP1 won't be extended further. So hopefully when we get back underway, well, hopefully we will get back underway soon. As you look down at the roundabout there, which is the sort of gateway into this circuit, you can see there's a, well, I don't know if there's a particular fast food restaurant there right next to the pit lane.
Approximately
it's
a minute and
closed.
a half before the session starts. 1 minute, 1 minute.
Devastating that it's closed, but there we go. Hyderabad, actually, there was the same fast food restaurant just next door. I had that for lunch every day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Only the chicken version, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The chicken Maharaja Mac, delicious, absolutely divine. Anyway, Sam Bird, I'm hungry now. It is 5:30, actually.
I am starving.
It's nearly time for dinner.
Yeah.
Right, Sasha Fenestraz getting ready to head back out. in the number 23 Nissan. I think he's got a... No, what helmet? Is that a new helmet for Saka? I don't know. That looks it looks a little different, but it's not... Yeah, it's not... It's nice. It's got the Argentine flag on the top and the French flag alongside it, denoting his dual nationality as he now departs the pit lane. So 6 minutes to go in this interrupted free practice session.
Rush hour time.
Yeah. Less than 6 minutes to go. And Evans, Bird are the top two at the moment. Mortara in third, Gunter in fourth, Fenestrad's fifth, Cassidy, Van Dorn, Da Costa, Vernon, Nato, the rest of the top 10. But again, I imagine those lap times will come tumbling down in these final 5 minutes. Now, this session started at 5 p.m. The race tomorrow starts at 4 p.m. So it's not quite exactly representative of the sort of time of day, and also the track will, well, I was going to say it will clean up, but it's pretty clean, to be honest. And these Hankook tyres don't rubber in the circuit as much as the Michelins did last year. Because of their hard construction, the track doesn't really rubber in as much as it did over the last couple of years.
You're always going to have a little bit of improvement, not as much as we saw last race.
Will also be 10 minutes later than scheduled, so it'll be 10 minutes later than scheduled.
Yeah, they're just announcing a delayed drivers meeting because the session extended.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be a bit of track evolution. That's natural, you know. A little bit of dust going to come out, a little bit of rubber is going to lay down. Drivers are going to pick up a bit more, you know, get more confident in the track. So it's part of a natural process.
So here we go, an onboard lap of this Cape Town E-Prix circuit with Jean-Eric Vergne, the race winner last time out in Hyderabad, in driver's eye, coming now down into the first 90-degree left-hander. Gets on the power, and then just listen to how quick these next two corners are. Picking the throttle back up again as he comes towards turns 4, 5, and 6. Through the chicane and then back out the other side, down towards turn 7. Aggressively working the wheel to try and get temperature into the tyres as he came out of turn 7. A few adjustments on the dash, and now another pair of quick corners at turns 8 and 9.
You can hear he's holding the brakes and warming up the brakes a little bit. He's definitely probably preparing it for the next lap to have a good open last time trying.
3 minutes to go. So Bird has just done an improved lap to stay at the top of or go to the top of the times for the Jaguar team. A 1 minute 9.858. This is Da Costa in the Porsche.
Did I hear something?
Yeah, I thought I heard something there, but it's as though everyone's still going. 2.5 minutes to go. Up into turn 7 now comes Da Costa. Little slide on the exit onto Beach Road. Tictum through the chicane. There's Jake Dennis getting some laps in finally. As he comes through the first sector 7 seconds down, so actually he'd just done previously a 13.3, but again with only 6 laps on the board, he's going to be a bit of a way off the pace. Through turn 12 comes Da Costa. Jake Hughes goes 3rd fastest. Da Costa remains in 7th place. Cassidy jumps him into 4th spot. Lotterer coming through in the Andretti, followed by Sergio Cine Camera and Dan Tictum here. Tictum is only 4/10 down after sectors 1 and 2. Cine Camera goes 9th, Tictum goes 2nd. Fastest final sector of anyone. Just over a 10th slower than Sam Bird. Norman Nato jumps up into 6th spot.
I'm telling you, it's not going to be all powertrain. Qualifying is going to be very much driver dependent, in my opinion, because it's such a difficult track. So.
Saw those Justine Metro and Charlie Enright, the trimmer and the skipper respectively for 11th Hour Racing, who took Sebastian Buemi and Nick Cassidy out on the water yesterday. And Buemi not quite got his land legs yet. Look at this, Gunter chucking it round. Here's his radio.
Next lap, we keep pushing in scenario 2. Next lap, we keep pushing in scenario 2.
So another push lap for Gunter. It'll be his final lap of the session. He goes third quickest. Mortara to the top of the times. 1 minute 9.700 for Eduardo Mortara. Across the line now. Quick when they come under there as well, aren't they? As the lap times fall, Verline did a cool down lap that time through. So that means he's now on a push lap. The championship leader into the left-hander of turn 1. Will get his first sector split with the chicane. We've got his onboard in the bottom right. Bit of traffic up ahead. The Andre Lotterer Andretti.
That lost time already.
Yeah. He's 2/10 down in the first sector compared to Edo Mortara. And I think he's getting out of the way here. Lotterer, yes he is. Those two teammates last year finished 1-2 in Mexico City. Middle sector for Verline, he's 3/10 away. Some of the drivers now have taken the checkered flag. Nato's just done a good sector 1. De Costa's done a good middle sector, but here comes Verline. Rast goes to 4th fastest. Verline goes 7th. 6/10 away. Sasha Fenestras has got a good lap incoming here. The Nissan driver, Cassidy, only goes 8th fastest, lost a lot of time in the middle sector. De Costa goes up into 3rd. Fenestras now goes 3rd in the Nissan. Van Dorn's on a reasonable lap actually after the middle sector too. Vern is only 16th quickest as he cuts the timing beam. Nato 9th. And Stoffel Van Dorn is going to be the last driver across the line. Oh, and he lost 20 seconds.
Yeah, he went straight into the back straight, the last corner.
Here.
He went straight over there from what I seen on the camera before.
Oh, I didn't see it, sorry. But so that's what happened to Stoffel Van Dorn. He was quick after sectors 1 and 2, but it's Eduardo Mortara for the Maserati MSG team who ends the session fastest. Quickest for him with Gunter in 7th, Porsche's Verline in 11th, De Costa in 4th. The Jaguars there with Bird in 2nd position, the Nissan of Fenestras they're in 3rd position too. It's always difficult to read too much into free practice 1, of course, but I think the Maserati crew will be very, very pleased with that.
It's always good feeling to finish top 5 in such a new track, very difficult track, so it's a good boost of confidence for the drivers.
Oliver Rowland is under investigation for some kind of technical infraction. Here's a start practice here. Pole position on the inside, and it looks as though, certainly in the early stages, that pole is going to be a bit more cleaner than second on the grid, where Lotterer is just going over to now on that left-hand side. We'll have a look when the two Andrettis go. And then there's quite a few sort of kinks before that first corner. Verline on the right, Hughes on the left. Yeah, Hughes really struggling to put the power down there on that dirty side of the grid. And some folks with a great view from their balcony. Lots of residential properties here, which already they had a great view overlooking the sunset every night. But now, they've got an even better one because there's some race cars too.
That's a nice pool.
Yeah. Do the commentary from there, that's the vibe. Some more practice starts for the app. Interested to find out what happened to Van der Linde.
That supercar looked so much alike the season 1 car we won the championship with.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It was the neon yellow and the gray.
Yeah. Right, free practice 1 done in Cape Town, and it's Eduardo Mortara who is at the top. Just over a 10th ahead of Sam Bird, Sasha Fenestraz, 3rd, 4th for Da Costa, 5th for Dan Ticktum in the Neo, Rene Rast, the highest of the McLarens, Gunter, Sete Cameron, Nato and Evans completing the top 10. So 2 Maseratis in the top 10, 2 Nissans in the top 10, 2 Jaguars,
2 Neos
in the top 10, and 2 Neos in the top 10. Struggles for De Grassi and Buemi, who both only did 3 laps. Kelvin van der Linde appeared to potentially, yes, he touched the wall slightly and broke the rim. So that's frustrating for him. He did get 9 laps done at least, but that is about half of everybody else. So back into the pit lane we come. And how much do you look at the lap times then after a free practice 1 like that that's so interrupted, and or do you have to just focus on yourself and your own car and making it better for you?
No, I mean, when it's a new track, and you definitely compare yourself to your teammate at the minimum.
Yeah.
Depends what the gaps are, but yeah, your teammates is always the #1 reference. And then if you are in front of your teammate, then obviously you look at the rest, you know, see the sectors. You do feel after a session what are the areas you sort of think that you're struggling a bit more, and then you just confirm it sometimes with the sectors, you know. Let's say you're not braking well to turn 1, you're not confident. And you look at the timing board and you see that you're 3/4 tenths off the sector 1. So you kind of have a feeling where you need to improve. But the only data you're going to have is obviously your teammates. So for sure, some of the teams are going to have the manufacturers' deals that they have. You know, some of the teams that they use the powertrains, they probably share data as well, so they have more cars to be able to see data.
Yeah. Eduardo Mortara making his way to get weighed. Bit of rowing. You a rower?
Not in the water, in the gym only.
Yeah, very well. It's a little less choppy than earlier on, but the wind certainly picked up after a very, very calm morning here in Cape Town. But it wasn't very calm when free practice 1 got underway. The first ever session in Cape Town. The cars pouring out onto the circuit to try and get to grips with this brand new track. Jake Hughes fighting his way past some of the Maseratis. Big shunt for Sebastian Buemi. That brought out a red flag. The Envision driver in the wall and out of the session. Session got going again. And the Jaguars and McLarens were setting the early pace. Jake Dennis getting a bit of traffic as he came through Mooley Point. As everybody tried to find a little bit of space through the left-hander for Jean-Eric Verne. This is the chicane in the Dan Ticktum Neo. Ticktum ended the session in a fairly solid 5th fastest. Eduardo Mortara, though, was the driver who ended the session quickest for Maserati MSG Racing. And that will give him a huge amount of confidence going into tomorrow after it's been a pretty tricky start to the season for him and the Maserati MSG team. Right, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning is free practice 2, and then we have the race coming up at 4 p.m. local time. There's qualifying in the middle as well, and I think we've seen a very, very entertaining circuit that is really going to punish drivers who get it wrong. Already, Van der Linde and Buemi having admittedly different sized contacts with the barriers, but Sacha Fenestraz very happy to get out and see himself third on the timing screens. Such a happy chappy, Sacha Fenestraz, but a big smile on the face of James Rossiter as well. We've seen him have a lot of frowns this season, but a very, very positive start to the weekend for Maserati and the Monaco Sports Group. Time for a bit of golf, maybe, or a bit of kayaking, apparently that was earlier, not rowing. I don't really know the difference, but apparently that was kayaking, not rowing. But we'll be back for more racing cars tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock here in Cape Town. See you then.